We'll go through the normal system with Tim with Sky, Adam Radio Sheffield, Moose Talk Sport, Paul for PLP, and then we'll use the hands up system. If you keep everything off social media until Chris is done, and then everybody gets a free crack at it. Tim, when I'm out of the way, ready when you are.
Hi Chris, you okay?
I'm okay, Tim.
First win on Saturday. Psychologically, how much of a benefit can that be? Has there been a little bit of a different mood around the place this morning, and can you use that as a momentum shift?
Yeah, you can. There's no downside to winning games of football. Would have liked to have won a few more at this stage of the season, but that's not been the case. So we have to use everything that we gain, and obviously it was a decent performance, a tough FA Cup tie against Bristol Rovers on Saturday afternoon. So the players have trained well today, and looking forward to tomorrow night.
The COVID situation you talked about last week, is there any update? Has there been any further issues, and is it becoming more and more difficult to manage through this situation as there's more scrutiny on the players' behaviour on and off the pitch, even with things like goal celebrations when they've got to maintain a bit of distance?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a different situation to the one that we encountered last year when we returned to training and we returned to playing. Everything's tightened up, and obviously from a general point of view, with the numbers that are coming back and the general mood around the country, it is different to that situation, but a lot more serious. So more protocols enhanced from the Premier League, and players have quite rightly so got to play their part in what they need to do to stop the virus spreading. It's obviously we've had some cases in the staff and in the players, and the obvious, I should imagine, concern for medical staff is possibly what's happened at Newcastle in terms of the longer effects that players might suffer. So obviously we don't know that yet, but certainly it is a certain complete different feel to what it was last year, and obviously very concerning for everybody.
What are you expecting from Newcastle? Is this a game where you might have to be patient? They do have a tendency to make it difficult to break them down.
I think we recognise every point in the Premier League is vital, and that's what's been the disappointing points from our games this year, in terms of even turning tight games into draws, and vice versa. So listen, as I keep saying, it's extremely difficult for teams outside the top 6, top 7, top 8 to gain points and the valuable points, and Newcastle have had some great victories this season, and picked up those valuable points in their quest to which seems an obvious statement for a lot of the teams. As I said, possibly some don't advertise it as much as others, but staying in the Premier League is huge for possibly 12 or 13 teams before a ball's kicked another season in the Premier League. I know how Roy Hodgson talked about it in his programme notes when we played Palace 2 weeks ago, and possibly Newcastle in the same situation. So, but you still look at the team, and they've got some really good players, a really strong bench, a strong squad, and a very experienced manager that's achieved a lot in the game as a player, as I keep saying, and as a manager.
Can I just ask you about transfers? You've talked previously about trying to get business done as quickly as possible in this window. What are the challenges that you've faced in trying to accomplish that, and is there anything moving?
No, nothing's changed. from when I spoke last week. So looking ahead to the game, Tim. So I think everybody realises it's a difficult window to work in. So nothing changes, and as I said, focus since the weekend has been on Tuesday night's game against Newcastle.
Thanks, Chris. All the best.
Cheers, Tim.
Adam, before you start, can we just check this audio, please? Give us a sec, Adam.
All right. Hello.
Kev, just put the headphones in, just see if you can hear me.
That is louder.
Is that a lot better, yeah?
Yeah.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Seems
okay.
fine. Yeah.
Thank you all. Adam, when he's out of the show, we're ready.
Great stuff. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Adam.
Yeah, hi. Fitness issues over several players, of course. Stevens, Baldock, Sharp, Jagielka, Mousse. Any of them going to be available for Newcastle tomorrow?
We'd like to think some of those 5 that you've mentioned will be. It'll be touch and go on a couple. Hopefully, all 5 will be available for the weekend, but we don't know on 2 or 3 of those players if Tuesday night comes too early for those players.
Are there any other absentees that we don't know about, or any other sort of COVID issues that you're dealing with at the minute?
No, we got tested yesterday, so results will come through this afternoon. So fingers crossed, as every club up and down the country, not just the Premier League, obviously the EFL as well. This is the world that we're living in the football game as well, regarding negative and positive results.
Absolutely. I mean, the weekend we've seen under 23s and under 18s being fielded in the FA Cup. Games postponed and rearranged at very short notice. There's talk about the Spurs-Fulham game being rearranged this week at very short notice. How much is there a sort of fairness issue at the moment and a devaluing of the competition with everything that's going on?
Obviously, there is. There is, as I said, what happened at the weekend and what you've just said. I think that the Spurs Fulham game is on now, so that was obviously down for Spurs to play Villa, and it's obviously match day, whatever it is, and it's a midweek game. So yeah, of course, if that game had not taken place, then the obvious advantage to Tottenham and having a week to prepare against us, even though they might not need a week, they might only need 24 hours, the way it's going at the moment. But still, yeah, talking to you, of course, it's certainly an uncertain time, and I believe that uncertainty will be with us for quite a while, and it's something we're going to have to get used to.
I mean, given that, should the game look at the Euros and potentially postponing that? Because at the minute, the game seems to be frantically trying to fit cup and league fixtures in for that purpose. Should that be looked at to potentially give people some breathing space to help with those issues we've just talked about?
To be fair, Adam, I've not really thought about what goes off on an international front. At times, you just go along with as I said, the medical experts at the Premier League, and take your lead off them. And obviously, the situation, what's happening at various football clubs. But I've got to say, I've not really thought about the summer, as you can imagine. My only thought has been sort of the next game and the difficulties that that poses, and I suppose the difficulties it poses for the Premier League in terms of what the situation is at the moment with and the FA as well, with FA Cup games being called off. I just don't think anybody knows exactly where they're at with it at the moment, and that is not a criticism to anybody in the FA or the Premier League. And I think it's just a day-by-day sort of existence, which obviously isn't ideal to anybody. And imagine obviously provokes a lot of debate on on quite a few things, whether Euros should be cancelled, whether there's been talk of obviously a suspension and other things. But as I said, from day one of the virus, I want to come to work, as imagine all the people in the country that have got jobs want to go to work and get back to normality. But it certainly isn't the case at the moment, and definitely there's a completely different feel to what's happening now to what was happening 12 months ago.
Clearly a big positive at the weekend in getting that victory against Bristol Rovers. How useful could an FA Cup run be for you and your team from a sort of morale and momentum perspective in winning games of football?
That's always the case, and even if we'd have put out of a side not as strong as what we did on Saturday. As I keep saying, repeat myself, there's no harm in winning games of football and playing well. And I thought, looking back at the game, I think 12 months ago, if we'd have played in the same manner and got through the tie, we'd have said that was a decent performance and great to get into the next round. And we're saying the same thing, but obviously the league position is completely different. But just to win games of football, it's been a long time, obviously, and a difficult and disappointing period for us all. And we all that have watched this football team know that we should have won games before this long period. In this long period that we haven't. But anything that we can hold on to and build from to push the players into a better place mentally, from a confidence and a belief point of view, will help them to hopefully play better, put better performances in, and hopefully pick up some results.
And one other element along those lines, we're into January, which normally you'd be well into the second half of the season, really, but we're not this season. There's still 21 games to go. Is that still something that you keep reminding the players that there are still plenty of points to play for?
Yeah, of course. We can't look too far ahead to what's in the future. We've just got to crack on with that next game, and we have done. We did going into the weekend, and we have done preparing on Sunday, a long journey back from Bristol, in Sunday morning, preparing in today and tomorrow for another big game. But yeah, again, it's still incredibly tough opponents that we're up against, and I know they've had a really tough run as well, and Steve's obviously an experienced Premier League manager, so. It's a big challenge ahead of us, as they all are, as they all have been right the way through our period playing at this level.
I appreciate every game's important, but with Spurs and the two Manchester clubs coming up, is there a little bit of extra significance, do you feel, on this one? No,
it's just the next game, Adam. You just got to go and get attack the next game. I think we understand, if we play where we can play and play at our best, then we believe that we can get a result. We've done that all season. We felt that way all season. But thinking it, believing it, and producing it are three different things in there. So, of course, it's important for us to get a result. Looking at the league position, and if we do, then hopefully we build off the back of the Bristol Rovers game, build off the back of Newcastle, and yet again, we're even we're playing Newcastle on Tuesday night. There's big games ahead of us, and we'll deal with that accordingly.
Do you feel you do a little slice of luck against Newcastle? The VAR decision at Bramall Lane, John Egan's red card at St James's Park with the soft booking?
No, I don't. I think we all look for that bit, of course, and we'll take it when it's there. And you sometimes see some performances and up and down the country, and you look at Premier League games and go, how did they get a result there? And some things happen in football that sometimes you scratch your head. So yeah, of course we'll take anything that goes, but we've got to concentrate on playing well and playing at the levels that we think we can play at. And if we do that, then yeah, we'll take that bit of luck. Hopefully, no controversial refereeing decisions involved. That everybody's everybody's after that. A nice quiet game from the referee and the VAR situation. Obviously, what happened last season, but we want to win a game on merit. We want to win a game because we've played better than the opposition and done a lot of things right in and out of possession, and had a good mentality about the game, and a good approach to the game, which I'm sure we will have.
You always enjoyed coming up against Steve Bruce. Good, healthy rivalry between yourselves.
Yeah, as I said on record many a time, he's a man I hugely respect, and knowing him from when he was first player manager here in the late 90s at Bramall Lane, and I think you just look at his track record and where he's been and who he's managed, and I keep saying it, the longevity in the Premier League, how difficult it is not just to manage in the Premier League, but to play in the Premier League. And we've just been talking about it, with the staff, that some of these players that, season in, season out, play at this level, earn contracts at this level, stay at this level. There's an enormous amount of, admiration for these guys as players, let alone managers who know how cutthroat the competition is and how cutthroat the industry is. So for Steve to still be managing at this level and whatever he's achieved and keep going, I've got enormous amount of respect for.
Thanks, Chris. Good luck tomorrow.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you.
Ian, when you're ready.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm all right, Ian. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can I start off with Saturday and the win over Bristol Rovers? How much did you personally need that win?
No, not for me. I said afterwards, it's not an individual sport, Ian, and I got asked a couple of questions afterwards about milestones and stuff like that. The club needed the win and the supporters needed the win. So I'm part of that. So I suppose I'm contradicting myself a little bit because we all needed it. But for me, players and supporters are the ones. Players needed it for a bit of belief and self-confidence and to get them pushing in the right direction, and the supporters as well, because it's been an incredibly tough year for them. Not being able to get inside Bramall Lane, not being able to push us on, and obviously watching our performances and most importantly the results, it's been incredibly difficult for them. And it would have been even more so if it had been knocked out, which wouldn't have surprised, I should imagine, the majority of the football world on Saturday afternoon. A team that's obviously not in great form at all, away at a League One club. So to get the job done, to get into the hat tonight, yet again a different hat. Again, is it rounds 4 and 5 being drawn out tonight, which is sort of goes along with how football is at the moment. But to get into the hat, win a game of football, I think it gives everybody just a little bit more of a boost.
Yeah, by the way, how hard is that as a football manager? I mean, you have always told me you only take each game as it comes, but tonight I'll be able to bring you up and ask you about your 4th round tie with Chorley and your 5th round tie with Sheffield Wednesday.
Missed it, Meg. I wouldn't want to play Chorley, by the way. Away. There it is. That's nap to get drawn out now, mate, isn't it? I mean, listen, it is what it is, isn't it, in the competition. So just we're delighted that we're in there, and we finally managed to win a game of football.
Do you know why you struggled this season? Because I mean, I've watched you for the last 2 or 3 years. A lot of your local press will watch you for the last 10 or 20 years. Is there one thing you could put your hand on and say, right, that's actually why we've had a poor start?
No, I think, which I've been consistent what I've said to the local guys as well. It's been a combination of certain stuff, which I've talked about at length without wanting to bore them, mate. But there's a lot of stuff that we can control and stuff that we can't, but we have to take the responsibility of performances and results, and they obviously haven't been good enough. But there's certain things that have affected that, and as I said, stuff that we most certainly should have done better, and other stuff that I certainly think has gone against us. But we have to battle on and dig in and grind it out, or all those words that people use that the qualities that players have to show in really difficult times. We've had a great run at it for 4.5 years, Ian, as you know, and it's not so good at the moment. And but this is what I said after the game on Saturday. This is the unfortunate aspect of supporting our football club, that it isn't always plain sailing. As you know, being a West Ham fan, and what happened a few years ago as well, without bringing that up. But it's not as straightforward. Paul Walker's on the call as well, so he'll tell you as well. It's not always the easiest gig in the world to support this football club. There's this feast and famine right the way through our history, and at the moment we're going through a tough time. But you know, it'll turn round like that, to turn round sooner than later. But this is the issue that you have supporting this football club, and it's certainly not one for the faint-hearted, and it's certainly not a glory club that I know a few supporters out there tend to follow.
Yeah, the anomaly is that you haven't won a game yet this season, and at bottom. And Newcastle have won a few games and are all right, just, you know, in the bottom six or whatever. Yet Steve Bruce is under more pressure from his fans than you are. If I go out in Sheffield today, socially distanced, and meet Sheffield United fans, they still love you. If I go out in Newcastle, even though if they won a game, they don't like Steve.
Well, that's just football. I mean, I'm not getting involved in Steve's situation. All I know is a brilliant football man that you know. Obviously, we know the history of what happened over the last sort of 12 months in terms of where he was managing and where he ended up managing. And I don't think anybody can begrudge him of taking that job. But every club has its own story, Ian, and I know our story is different, and maybe I've got a little bit of leeway earned from what we've achieved over the last period. But you know, I know that doesn't last forever, and I'm not wanting to lean on that as well. I want to win football matches. I want to help the team improve our league position, because it's uncomfortable for everybody connected. And I think, you know, I appreciate the support of our punters. But you know, I don't want it to be a sentimental thing. I want that to be something because we've won games of football and played well.
Last two is your kind of COVID related. First of all, you didn't cancel your game at Burnley, and other games have been cancelled. In hindsight, was that the right thing to do, to play that game?
We'll just play with a straight bat. You know, we had 2 players out, a number of staff out. We informed the Premier League. We had a couple of players on the morning of the game went over to Manchester Airport. I think as it's been documented, on what we want to play football, we're not looking for a reason to can a game. Even though at the time I think we had sort of 9 players unavailable, but we go along with the rules of the competition and stick to them. And I think every postponement or whatever has had their own story. And unfortunately, I don't know that story. The Premier League is the only organisation that know that story, and they deemed it fit to call some games off, which we have to go with. I know the story from our point of view. That is it. It's a straight bat, and we'll get on with it. So I'm not, you know, we're not going to chuck games in and pull the wool over anybody's eyes. It's not the way we act, and it's not the way I want the football club to act. And I think that's very important to myself and this football club.
And the last one off the back of that, in Scotland, they've announced today that everything below the Scottish Premier League and the Championship League below, i.e. the top 2 leagues, is now going to be suspended till the end of the month, and who knows from there. As a football manager, are you worried that this season won't finish? I
don't think anybody would be surprised.
Really?
I don't think anybody would be surprised. I think everybody knows about it. Everybody knows the situation about it. I don't think anybody will be surprised if football gets suspended. But as I've said, consistent with it all the way through. Want to come into work, want to play football, and that's been our stance, and the decision is being left to the government, and obviously in conjunction with the Premier League. But I personally don't think anybody would be surprised, and it's just took off. Obviously it's been a situation, hasn't it, from the fantastic news regarding the vaccine to getting it by a sucker punch straight away in terms of the new strain of what the virus is chucking out there. And I think everybody puts the TV on and it's the first bit of news up, and the numbers keep soaring up and rising, and I get what other managers are saying from the mentality point of view, and I get what other managers are saying from the morality of it all. We'll just go with what the government has to say, and the Premier League, and if this is the case to carry on, we'll carry on in the way that we have done. But I don't think I'm being controversial in saying that. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think anybody would be surprised the way it's sweeping through the country.
You keep safe and you keep well.
And you, mate. Thank you. Cheers, mate. Top pal.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
You right?
Yeah, not bad, Paul. Sorry, Paul.
No, you're right. Do you feel in a better place personally than this time last week when you were asked about your future and all those kind of things?
I feel in a better place because we've won a game of football. As I've said on last week's press conference, speculation and rumour and all that stuff, Paul, is part and parcel of the job. But head down and on to the next game, Paul, as I said in that press conference. But I think we all feel a little bit better with the result that we got against Bristol Rovers, and just cracking on to the next game.
I respect that, and you'll appreciate this is the first time I've had a chance to speak to you about all that stuff last week. Just one question on it, if I may. You said you couldn't offer any guarantees that you will still be here in 24 hours, 6 months, a year. The club made it plain they want you next season. So it lies with you, doesn't it?
Well, I think that in my answer, I answered all that question, didn't I? All those.
I don't know whether you did.
She should have been on that conference then, shouldn't you? I answered it. There's no surprises in football. Who knows what's round the corner? I'm contracted to the football club, and I'm contracted to Sheffield United, and I'll work away. Nobody can give any guarantees. If you can give any guarantees about any manager's job right the way through for the next, week, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, then you know a little bit more about it than me. But I think this is the game that we work in and we understand it. And I'm yet again, as I said, I'm an employer of the football club, and I go about my business, get my head down and work away diligently to try and help the team.
If I said to you, you'd still be sat there in that chair a year from now, you'd take that, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I don't. There's no. From my point of view, I want to win games of football, and if I win games of football and we improve our league position, then there's no reason why would I want to.
Okay. Have you got your bounce back? Because detected, obviously results don't help, but you've not been your usual self, not the Chris that I know anyway.
What are you? What? Hey, what are you? You're like a body coach, body language. I don't know if you had a look at the table.
Yeah. But there's been time, Chris. There's been times I've watched you on telly, and I thought he just needs to hug that guy.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Why didn't you do it then?
Well, I couldn't get close to you, could I?
Sorry, mate. Well, you know where I live. Oh, by the way, because I'm banging trouble then, aren't I? Listen, I'm the same person. I think there's a switch. There's a switch in there that all managers have got, and in a bit of an acting role that we all have with players, and in this game, to raise their spirits, to be onto them. It takes a a lot to be a manager at any level. I suppose at this level as well. The old one, if it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it. But I get hurt by results, Paul. I'm sure that when you see the result or see a match live of Sheffield United, that you don't turn the TV off straight away and go and open the fridge and start popping out a bottle of Prosecco. I won't say champagne, Paul, because I know your taste.
Yes.
Or a can of John Smith's. So that's how it affects us, doesn't it? It affects us. So I'm not going to be jumping through hoops after a game of football when we've lost, and obviously we've lost quite a few this season. But I think anybody who knows me and works with me knows that we have to dust ourselves down and go again, which I have done for quite a long time now in this game, because it's not all been about winning runs and achieving promotions. There's a little bit more to the game than that, and I've had to come through those periods as well, personally. But I think everybody gets affected, whether they're players that care, whether they're managers that care, which I certainly do, and whether the likes of you guys care, because I know you care about Sheffield United, and I know your history with them, and I suppose that after a game when you get beat, you're exactly the same as me, because we want it to be better.
Yeah. But the fire's still there, roaring in the belly, is it, underneath that exterior?
What do you think?
Not been affected in any way throughout all of this?
Well, I think you're sure going to be affected by it. I would much rather be winning games of football and be sat in the top 10. Of course we would. I think we'd all be like that. So we all get affected by it. I don't think anybody. I think that's a human nature and an attitude. If I didn't, then I would look at myself, because I'd possibly think that I didn't care about it. And if I thought, well, I'm not that bothered, we got beat. What's on TV tonight, and I'll go and crack a cat, get a bottle of beer, and go and sit in front of the TV and watch TV all night and not be bothered. But I think you understand, you know the answer to that, and that's why the fire, mate, is incredibly burning. And I think you only got to ask the players if they think that the bark and the bite has gone out of me, and the desire has gone out of me. But there's a lot of things happen at a football club as well, which you can understand that go on. So it's as I said, it's a testing time when you're not winning games of football. It's obviously a lot easier and a lot happier place. And as Mitch says, as Paul Mitchell says, who works here, the guy on security lifts the gate up and opens the barrier up and says the right words when you're winning, and the tea lady puts a cup of tea in front of you, and it's a great cup of tea. Then all of a sudden you're losing, and he's a mardy arse, the security guy. And have you seen that cup of tea that she's just put on my table? It's not 2 sugars, it's 1 sugar, and we'll get rid of her. I think that's the way of the world, isn't it, when you're losing games of football? So that's what happens in this environment, and you have to battle through it, which obviously I'm accustomed to.
Oh man, as ever, thank you, mate.
Cheers, Paul. Time, mate.
Cheers. Thanks.
Without an independent journalist as a Sheffield United fan, we'll move on, shall we?
Sorry, mate. I've just cost you a lot of work there, I know.
You're all right, mate. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I've had it before.
We'll go to the Scribblers. Shieldsy at Chelsea.